Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ms. McGuire online class. And today we're covering Introduction to Human Anatomy and Physiology. I hope this video will not take any longer than 1 hour. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm gonna pick up my pen. And I think that that should make it better for you to follow my lecture. Okay, so form and function of anatomy and physiology. Anatomy is study of the structure of body parts and their relationship to one another. Physiology is a study of the functions of body parts, how they work to carry out life-sustaining activities. Subdivision of anatomy. Gross or microscopic anatomy is the study of large visible structures. So gross, macroscopic, study visible large structures. And it includes regional anatomy that looks at all structures in a particular area of the body. Systemic anatomy that looks at just one body system. For example, cardiovascular, nervous, muscular, and etc. And surface anatomy that looks at internal structure as they relate to overlying skin. For example, visible masses or veins seen on surface. Another topics of anatomy include microscopic anatomy that deals with structures too small to be seen by naked eye. Microscopic anatomy includes cytology, microscopic study of cells. Cyto means cell and ology means study. Histology is microscopic study of tissues. Another topic of anatomy includes developmental anatomy that studies anatomical and physiological development throughout life. Developmental anatomy includes embryology, that is study of developments before birth. To study anatomy, one must know anatomical terminology and be able to observe, manipulate, palpate, and auscultate. Palpate means touching with your fingers, and auscultate means listening. Subdivisions of physiology are based on organ systems. For example, renal physiology or cardiovascular physiology often focuses on cellular and molecular levels of the body, looks at how the body's abilities are dependent on chemical reactions of individual cells. That means that physiology of entire organism and physiology of particular body system depends on function of individual cells. To study physiology, one must understand basic physical principles. For example, electrical current, pressure, movement, as well as basic chemical principles. So pretty much physiology is biophysics and biochemistry. Homeostasis is the central unifying concept of physiology. Now, homeostasis is the maintenance of relatively stable internal conditions despite continuous changes in environment. Homeostasis is a dynamic state of equilibrium, always readjusting as needed, maintained by contribution of all organ systems. That means all organ systems work together to maintain homeostasis. Anatomy and physiology are inseparable. Function always reflects structure, and what a structure can do depends on its specific form. And this is very important principle known as principle of complementarity of structure and function. Next slide shows us levels of organization within entire organism. So if you look at this diagram, you can see that you can arrange those levels from smallest to largest, from smallest to largest, or from largest to smallest. So we're going to start with the smallest. We start with atoms. Then atoms makes molecules. Molecules make organelles. Organelles make cells. Cells, tissues. Tissues are part of organs, and organs are part of organ systems. And 11 organ systems make entire organism. In this example, you can see that organelles made specifically smooth muscle cell, right? But we can have a different muscle, different cells, not necessarily muscle cells. It can be epithelial cell or nervous cell. But in this example, smooth muscle cells make smooth muscle tissue, and a part of organ that this tissue belong to are blood vessels. So blood vessels, because they are organs, they're made of different tissue types. So that organ, blood vessel, is part of cardiovascular system, and cardiovascular system is a part of organism. Necessary life functions include maintaining boundaries, movement, responsiveness, digestion, metabolism, excretion, reproduction, and growth. And now we will look at these functions in more details. These functions, they maintain life. So maintaining boundaries is a separation between internal and external environments that must exist. For example, plasma membrane separates cells. So if you have a cell, you will have plasma membrane that separates external and internal environment. Skin separates organism from environment. So these two are maintaining of boundaries. Movement. For example, muscular system allows movement of body parts via skeletal muscles, or muscular system moves substances via cardiac muscles. For example, you move blood because cardiac muscles of the heart contract and pump the blood. When smooth muscle contract, you move chyme, that is your food, or urine, for example, through your digestive tract or urinary tract. Another necessary function is contractility, that refers to movement at the cellular level. Responsiveness is the ability to sense and respond to stimuli. For example, withdrawal reflex that prevents injury. Now, withdrawal reflex can be shown in an example when you touch a hot frying pan. So if you touch something hot, you will withdraw your arm to prevent injury. That's your responsiveness. That is necessary function of life. Control of breathing rate, which must change in response to different activities, is another type of responsiveness. So when you run a marathon, then your breathing rate increases. When you're resting, it decreases. Digestion is necessary function. Digestion is breakdown of ingested foodstuffs followed by absorption of simple molecules into blood. So first you digest your food. That means you will break large molecules into small nutrients, and then you will absorb those nutrients. That means you will move them from your digestive tract to your bloodstream, and your blood will deliver those nutrients to your organs. So that was digestion. Metabolism is another function necessary for life. Now, metabolism is all chemical reactions that occur in body cells. It's a sum of all catabolism. Catabolism is breakdown of molecules, and anabolism, that is synthesis of molecules. So metabolism, because metabolism is all chemical reaction, it will include catabolism here. So you can see catabolism went from a larger molecule, we have smaller units, and energy, plus anabolism went from smaller units. Using energy, your cells synthesize larger molecules. So that's metabolism, sum of all chemical reactions in your body. On this slide, we can see the difference between metabolism and digestion. So metabolism is the sum of all chemical and physiological processes occurring in an organism's body, when digestion is the sum of all chemical and mechanical actions occurring in the digestive system only of an organism. Main processes: metabolism involves chemical processes, digestion involves both chemical and mechanical processes. And mechanical processes, for example, when you chew your food, then you mechanically break it down into smaller pieces. Type of reactions: metabolism, anabolism, and catabolism. Digestion, catabolism only. Systems: all the systems are incorporated with metabolic activities, and digestion takes place only at the digestive system. And metabolism is vital for all living beings, when digestion usually takes place only in animals. Excretion is another function, is a removal of waste from metabolism and digestion. You remove urea from breakdown of proteins, carbon dioxide from metabolism, and feces, unabsorbed foods. Reproduction at the cellular level, that involves division of cells for growth and repair. And at the organismal level, reproduction is the production of offsprings. And growth, increase in size of a body part of an organism. Humans are multicellular. That means we are made of many cells. So to function, individual cells must be kept alive. Organ systems are designed to service the cells. All cells depend on organ systems to meet their survival needs. There are 11 organ systems that work together to maintain life. This diagram shows us interaction between body systems. The box over here, that's your integumentary system, and organ of integumentary system is your skin. Then you have your food in and feces out, and that's your digestive system. Now you digest your food, break it down into nutrients, and you absorb nutrients into your bloodstream. This is your respiratory system. You deliver oxygen to your lungs. From your lungs, oxygen moves to your bloodstream, and your blood delivers this oxygen to your cells, and cells made all your organs. And you also, from the blood, carbon dioxide moves to your lungs and then out of your body. Now, this is your cardiovascular system that delivers blood to your kidneys and remove metabolic waste products in the form of your urine. And the cardiovascular system also provides your cells with nutrients and oxygen and removes carbon dioxide and other metabolic waste products that will be removed by kidneys from your organism. So not all the systems shown over here, but they give you appreciation how systems work together to maintain homeostasis of your body. So integumentary system forms external body covering and protects deeper tissues from injuries. Function of integumentary system include synthesis of vitamin D, houses cutaneous receptors for pain, pressure, etc., and houses sweat and oil glands. And the major organs of the integumentary system is your skin, your hair, your nails. Skeletal system protects and supports body organs and provides framework the muscles use to cause movement. Blood cells are formed within bones as well, so formation of blood cell is another function of skeletal system, and bones store minerals. Organs of the skeletal system include bones and joints. Muscular system allows manipulation of the environment, locomotion, and facial expression, maintains posture, and produces heat. Organs include skeletal muscles. Nervous system is a fast-acting control system of the body. It responds to internal and external changes by activating appropriate muscles and glands. So nervous system control your body, and it controls through your muscles and glands. So it sends signals to your muscles to contract and to your glands to secrete. Major organs include brain, spinal cord, and nerves. Endocrine system is another system of control. Major organs are glands. Glands secrete hormones that regulate processes such as growth, reproduction, and nutrient use or metabolism by body cells. Major glands or organs of endocrine system include pineal gland, pituitary gland, thyroid, thymus, adrenal gland, pancreas, ovaries, and testes. Cardiovascular system. Blood vessels transport blood, which carries oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, waste, etc., hormones, for example. The heart pumps blood. So organs include heart and blood vessels. Lymphatic system and another name for lymphatic system is immune system, picks up fluid leaked from blood vessels and returns it to blood, disposes of debris in a lymphatic stream, houses white blood cells or lymphocytes involved in immunity. The immune response mounts the attack against foreign substances within the body. Major organs of lymphatic or immune system include thymus, red bone marrow, lymphatic blood vessels, spleen, and lymph nodes. Respiratory system keeps blood constantly supplied with oxygen and removes carbon dioxide. The gaseous exchange occurs through the walls of the air sacs in your lungs and your blood. Respiratory system organs include nasal cavity, pharynx, that is your throat, larynx, your voice box, trachea, your windpipe, bronchi, and lungs. Digestive system breaks down food into absorbable units, and absorbable means those units can enter your blood, that enter the blood for distribution to body cells. Indigestible foodstuffs are eliminated as feces. Organs of the digestive system include oral cavity, esophagus, liver, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and pancreas. Urinary system eliminates nitrogenous waste from the body, regulates water, electrolyte, and acid-base balance of the body. Organs include kidney, ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra. Reproductive system. We have male and female reproductive systems. Overall function is production of offsprings. Testes produce sperm and male sex hormones, and male ducts and glands aid in delivery of sperm to the female reproductive tract. Ovaries produce eggs and female sex hormones. The remaining female structure serve as site for fertilization and development of the fetus. Mammary glands of female breast produce milk to nourish the newborn. An organ include for male reproductive system, penis, testes, prostate gland, ductus deferens, female reproductive organs, vagina, uterus, ovary, uterine tube, and mammary glands. Survival needs of organism. Humans need several factors for survival that must be in the appropriate amounts. Too much or too little can be harmful. Those factors include nutrients, oxygen, water, normal body temperature, and appropriate atmospheric pressure. Nutrients. Nutrients are chemicals for energy and cell building, include carbohydrates, major source of energy, proteins needed for cell building and cell chemistry, fats, long-term energy storage, minerals and vitamins involved in chemical reactions as well as for structural purposes. Oxygen. Essential for ATP production, and ATP is adenosine triphosphate. It's a molecule that is used by your cells for cellular function. So it's a molecule that store large amount of energy like your rechargeable battery, and your cells can use this energy to perform their work. The body can survive only a few minutes without oxygen. Oxygen is needed to make this ATP. So why do we need nutrients? Because they provide materials for growth of cells and tissue. They provide energy and provide materials for repair of cells and tissues. You also need water to survive. Water is the most abundant chemical in body, provides a watery environment needed for chemical reactions. Also is fluid base for secretion and excretion. For example, your saliva, that's a secretion that is 90% water. You also need normal body temperature. If body temperature falls below or goes above 37 degrees Celsius, rates of chemical reactions are affected. Another things that you need to survive, your survival needs include appropriate atmospheric pressure. Specific pressure of air is needed for adequate breathing and gas exchange in lungs. On this diagram, you can see how temperature can affect the rate of chemical reaction in your body. On x-axis, you have a temperature, and on the y-axis, you have a rate of reactions, and you can see that rate of reaction is highest at the optimum temperature. That for human, it's close to 37 degrees Celsius, that is your normal body temperature. Now, if we go below this 37 degree, that heat energy causes less collision. Here it says when temperature increases, we have more collisions between enzyme and substrate, and it's increased the rate of reaction. But when we decrease the temperature, then less and less molecules collide. That means reaction happens very slow. And when you reach temperature of 0 Celsius, that is 32 Fahrenheit, you can see that the rate of chemical reaction almost equal to 0 as well. Now, when temperature goes up, you can see that rate of reaction also decreases and reaches 0 because enzymes are denatured at high temperature. So the rate falls rapidly. And denature means they are destroyed. They lose their shape. Okay, so next part of this PowerPoint is related to anatomical position, regional terms, then directional terms, body planes, and I will go a little bit faster because I have another video that is specifically related to this part of the PowerPoint, and I will leave this video in a description below this recording, so you can watch that lab video about anatomical position and directional and other anatomical terminology. So anatomical position and directional terms. We have standard anatomical position. You should always refer to standard anatomical position when you describe your patient. Anatomical position, in anatomical position, body is erect, feet are slightly apart, palms facing forward with thumbs pointing away from the body. Directional terms describe one body structure in relation to another body structure. Direction is always based on standard anatomical position. Right and left refer to the body being viewed, not right and left of observer. That means when you described something located on the left part of the body, on the right part, you're referring to your patient, not to your own right or left. This is very important to remember. So here's our directional references. You can see this guy is in anatomical position. So we have superior inferior, superior towards the head, inferior toward the feet. We have cranial towards the head and caudal toward the, caudal means tail. People do not have tail, but we still keep this term caudal, so it's towards your coccyx. Anterior or ventral, front of the body, posterior or dorsal, back of the body. We also have medial towards the midline of the body. So here's midline. So medial towards the midline and lateral is away of midline. Next, directional terms are used only for upper limbs and low limbs, so only for your arms and legs. Proximal means close to the torso, and distal is away from attachment, torso attachment. So your arms are attached to torso in this area, right? So this part is proximal and this part is distal towards this attachment to the torso. And the same for low limbs. So this part is proximal and this part is distal. There are two major divisions of body: axial, that includes head, neck, and trunk, and appendicular, includes limbs, legs, and arms. Regional terms designate specific area within body division. So this is our directional terms, and next we will look at regional terms. So here's our diagram of a person in anatomical position, and we can see anterior view, front and posterior or dorsal view or back, and then you can see how body parts are divided into regions. Like cephalic region is a larger region, that's a head. If within cephalic, you have frontal, orbital, nasal, oral, mental. Then you have cervical region, that is a neck, and so on. You have thoracic, you have abdominal, pelvic. On the back, again, you have posterior cephalic, posterior cervical, dorsal or back. You have gluteal region. And then when you look at upper limbs and lower limbs, you have more regional terms, right? Like acromial, branchial, and so on. I'm not gonna go over this terminology because I already recorded entire video where I covered these parts in details, and I will leave link to this video below this recording. Body planes. Surface along which body or structure may be cut for anatomical study. We have three most common planes: sagittal plane, frontal or coronal, and transverse or horizontal. And sections are cuts or sections that made along a body plane. Sections are named after plane, so sagittal cut result in a sagittal section. Okay, so let me see. Somehow I get rid of my pen. Cannot find it. I'm gonna stop this video for a moment. Okay, I found my pen. Sagittal plane. Planes are imaginary and they divide your body into different sections. Sagittal divides body vertically into right and left planes. So that's our sagittal. It produces a sagittal section if cut along this plane. we have two types of sagittal plane. Mid-sagittal or median cut was made perfectly on midline, like shown on a picture over here. Parasagittal plane, when cut, was off-centered, not on midline. Frontal or coronal plane divides body vertically into anterior and posterior part, or front and back, and produces frontal or coronal section. Transverse or horizontal plane divides body horizontally 90-degree to vertical plane into superior and inferior parts, top and bottom, and produces cross section. And another section that we have is oblique, that results of cut at angle other than 90-degree. So any cut that is made under the angle, for example, if you take a cephalic region and you cut it at the angle, that will be oblique section. Planes of the body with corresponding magnetic resonance imaging scans can be seen on this slide. So this is our first is our mid-sagittal. So that's a mid-sagittal plane that divides body into right and left. So remember, if it's not in the middle, then it's parasagittal. Frontal or coronal divides body into anterior part and posterior, or ventral and dorsal. And transverse divide body into superior and inferior, or up and superior part and inferior part. Up and bottom doesn't really work that good. Right? So, and you can see MRI scans corresponding to a different planes over here, and organs and cavities look very different based on a plane that you are looking at. Body contains internal cavities that are closed to environment. Cavities provide different degrees of protection to organs within them. We have two sets of cavities, dorsal body cavity and ventral body cavity. So here on this picture, you can see dorsal body cavity that's shown in pink color that include cranial cavity, encases brain, and vertebral cavity, encases spinal cord. So those are two dorsal body cavities, cranial and vertebral, for brain and spinal cord. Ventral body cavities houses the internal organs collectively called viscera, and two divisions which are separated by diaphragm. So here's a diaphragm that is a muscle that separates thoracic cavity. So that's on the top is thoracic cavity. Abdominopelvic cavity is below the diaphragm. Inside those cavities, we have viscera or internal organs. This is how we call internal organs, viscera. So let me see what my next slide is. Okay. So I need to go on a previous slide. So you can see that in a thoracic cavity, we have 4 different colors, right? So we have this purple color here. Sorry. So we have our purple color cavities. They represent pleural cavities where lungs are located. This is pericardial cavity, where heart is located. This one is superior mediastinum. And abdominopelvic is divided into abdominal, where most of the digestive organs are located, and pelvic, where reproductive organs located, plus rectum. Okay. Clinical homeostatic imbalance. Whereas the pelvic bones provide limited protection to the pelvic cavities, the walls of abdominal cavity are formed by muscles only. So organs in this area are most vulnerable to trauma. So what this slide tells us that we have well-protected body cavity, like cranial cavity. I would say like this. Cranial cavity protects your brain. Vertebral cavity protects your spine. Thoracic cavity has a rib cage, bones, protects your lungs and your heart, and some structures like trachea, for example. Then we have pelvic cavity that is made by your pelvis. So pelvis, well, it's not made of a pelvis, but pelvis protects your pelvic cavity. So you do protect some of your reproductive organs. But if you look over here, abdominal cavity doesn't have bony protection. So it's the most vulnerable part of body, and that's why it's vulnerable to trauma. Membranes in ventral body cavity, serosa, also called serous membrane. It's a thin, double-layered membranes that cover surface in the ventral body cavity. And serosa always divide, because it's double-layered, it's always divided into parietal serosa that lines internal body cavity walls, and visceral serosa covers internal organs. Double layers are separated by slit-like cavity filled with serous fluid. And fluid is secreted by both layers of membrane. So here's our serous membrane relationship. So it gives you an analogy of serous membrane. So for example, if you put your fist inside a balloon, inside the flaccid balloon, you will see that your fist will be covered by a wall of the balloon. It will be internal balloon wall, and then you will have a cavity, and then you will have external balloon wall. So the same, your organs are covered by visceral serosa, then we have cavity, and then parietal serosa. Now, because serosa is the membrane of ventral body cavity, and ventral body cavity, we have pleural cavity, we have pericardial cavity, then you have abdominal cavity. That's why serosa is named for specific cavity and organs that are associated with. Now, serosa that cover your heart is pericardium. Serosa that covers your lungs is pleura, and serosa that covering abdominal cavity is peritoneum. So serosa is the membrane, very thin membrane that covers body cavities and organs inside those cavities. Now, depends where serosa is located, it changes its name into pericardium, pleura, and peritoneum. Homeostatic imbalance. Serous membranes can become inflamed as a result of infection or other causes. Normally, smooth layers can become rough and even can stick together, resulting in excruciating pain. Example, pleurosity and peritonitis. Now, before we get to quadrants, before we get to the quadrants over here, I want to go back to body cavities because I thought I might have another slide, but I don't. That's why I want to go back to body cavities and just repeat it one more time. Divisions of dorsal and ventral body cavities. So the body cavities, as we already mentioned, are divided into dorsal body cavity and ventral body cavity. Dorsal on the back and ventral on front. Now, dorsal body cavity include cranial, that contains brain, and vertebral, contains spinal cord. Those body cavities are the best protected cavities in your body. Now, ventral body cavity include thoracic cavity. So all this is thoracic cavity. And inferior to it is abdominopelvic cavity. Separation between thoracic and abdominopelvic cavity is diaphragm. Now, thoracic cavity then is divided into pleural cavity, contains lungs, so right and left pleural cavities, pericardial cavity that contains the heart, and superior mediastinum. Abdominopelvic cavity is divided into abdominal cavity that contains digestive organs or digestive viscera, and pelvic cavity that contains urinary bladder, reproductive organs, and rectum. Rectum is the last part of the large intestine. Now, all these cavities are covered by membrane. It's all serous membrane, right? So here, all these cavities are covered by membrane, serous membrane, and all the organs inside are covered by membrane, also serous membrane. But this serous membrane has different name. If it covers your lungs and pleural cavity, we call it pleura. If this serous membrane covers your heart and cavity, it's a pericardium. If this membrane covers your digestive organ and abdominal cavity and pelvic cavity, we call it peritoneum. Right, so that's what I wanted to go back and discuss again. Okay, so now we are in the quadrants. Quadrants are divisions used primarily by medical personnel, and quadrants are really easy to remember. It's quadrants are in abdominopelvic cavity. So here's our abdominopelvic cavity. We have RUQ, right upper quadrant, RLQ, right lower quadrant, LUQ, left upper quadrant, and LLQ, left lower quadrant. Just remember that this is right of your patient and this is left of your patient. Now you can see liver is primarily located in the right upper quadrant. Stomach is primarily located in the left upper quadrant. Urinary bladder is located between right lower and left lower quadrants. Nine divisions called regions are used primarily by anatomists. Now in this example, we take abdominopelvic cavity, but now we divide it into divisions or regions, not quadrants. Now we're gonna look here first. This is umbilical region on the top of epigastric, and epi means on top, a gastric means stomach, so on top of the stomach, epigastric, and hypogastric below the stomach. This is our right part, right? Hypochondriac. Hypo means below, and chondriac means cartilage. So that's your cartilage of your ribs. So hypochondriac, right lumbar region, and right inguinal or iliac region. Left hypochondriac, left lumbar, and left iliac or inguinal region. Now, if you look at the organs that associated with the region, you can see that we can describe their position more precisely compared to quadrants. That's why divisions are used by anatomists, because anatomy study body parts and structure and their location, and it's really very precise, when the quadrants are mostly used by medical personnel. We also have additional body cavities. In addition to the two main body cavities that, remember, are your dorsal and ventral, the body has several smaller cavities that are exposed to environment. Oral and digestive cavities, nasal cavity, orbital cavities, middle ear cavities. Also, cavities that are not exposed to environment include synovial cavities, that they are your joint cavities. Okay, so that's it for this lecture. So just very quick recap. We cover introduction to human anatomy. Part of this lecture, such as regional terms, are covered in a separate video. Okay, thank you guys for watching, and I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Have a nice day. See you next time.